Cold Meal, Episode 1. She was tired. She found the grey hair on a Tuesday. Not that the day mattered, but she remembered it the way you remember small things that arrive before a larger truth. The smell of rain before a storm. The silence before a phone rings with bad news. Tuesday. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror with her wrapper half tied. The children already making noise somewhere in the house. And her husband's shaving things scattered across the sink the way they always were. The way she had stopped asking him to tidy because the asking took more energy than the tidying. She leaned closer to the mirror. The hair sat near her temple, silver and unbothered, catching the bathroom light like it had been there for some time and was only now deciding to introduce itself. She looked at it for longer than she should have. Not with vanity, not exactly. More the way you look at something that confirms a feeling you have been trying not to name. She was 34 years old, and she felt older than that. Not in her bones, or in the way people mean when they talk about the body slowing down. Older in a different place. Somewhere behind the eyes. Somewhere that rest didn't reach. She tied her wrapper properly and went to make breakfast. The morning moved the way mornings in their house always moved. Loudly and without her. Her son needed his left shoe, which was under the couch, which she found. Her daughter needed her hair redone because the plait from Sunday had gone soft overnight. Wonu fixed it with her fingers and a comb with one knee on the floor. Her husband came through the kitchen while she was at the cooker, already dressed, already on his phone, and they said something she didn't fully catch. Something about traffic, something about a meeting, and she said okay. Then he left. The door closed. She stood at the cooker, spatula in hand, and listened to the house redistribute itself around his absence. It did this every morning, recalibrated, settled into the version of itself that existed when it was just her and the children. Quieter, slower, more honest somehow. She served the children, supervised the eating, supervised the packing of bags, walked them to the gate, and stood there until the school bus turned the corner and disappeared. Then she came back inside and stood in the kitchen, looked at the breakfast she had not eaten. She sat down, ate alone, slowly, the way you eat when no one is watching and there is nothing to perform. There was a book she had been meaning to read. Her sister had recommended it 3 months ago. She couldn't remember the title now, only that her sister had said you'll like it. It's about a woman who figures herself out, and one who had laughed in the way you laugh when something is too accurate to be funny. She had bought it, started page 1, got to the 3rd paragraph, and then one of the children called for her, and she put the book down on the bedside table to never pick it up again. She went to the bedroom and found it there, exactly where she'd left it, furrowed with dust along the top. She wiped with the hem of her house dress and sat on the edge of the bed. Opened it, read the 1st page, then the 2nd. By the 3rd, she realized she had been holding her breath, the way you do in a quiet church, or underwater, or in any place that feels like it might break if you disturb it. She exhaled slowly and read on. Nobody needed her for all the times that her family had gone. And it was the longest she had been alone with herself. In months when the children were on holiday. And she didn't know whether to feel guilty about that or something else. Something that didn't have a clean name. Something close to hunger. Her husband came home at 8:30 at night. The children were bathed and in bed. Dinner was already done, covered with a pot lid. She was on the couch with a book when she heard his key in the door. And she felt her body do the small thing it did every evening. A faint adjustment, a slight gathering of herself. Not fear, not quiet anticipation, just something more habitual than either. The way you brace for weather you've grown used to. He came in and loosened his tie and said he was tired. She said she had saved his dinner. He said he'd already eaten. Something at the office did ordered him. She said, okay. He showered and came to sit beside her on the couch as they watched television together for an hour without speaking. This was not unusual and was not hostile, but it wasn't comfortable either. It was a temperature of their evenings, familiar, consistent. She could not have told you when it had become this way. Somewhere between the second child and the third year of marriage. The conversation had thinned out until it was mostly logistics. Did you pay the school fees? Yes. The generator needs fuel. I'll sort it. Your mother called. I'll call her back. She looked at the side of his face while he watched the television. He was not a bad man. She was clear about this. She had been clear about it for so long that it had become its own kind of tired. The exhaustion of defending someone in your own mind, of qualifying and contextualizing and reminding yourself of all the ways it could be worse. He was not a bad man. He was just somewhere else most of the time, even when he was here. She lay awake after he fell asleep. This was not new. She had always been the last one to sleep in the house. A light sleeper, a warrior, a woman whose mind did not know how to stop for the night. But lately it had been different. Lately she lay awake not because her mind was running, but because something had gone still inside her, and the stillness was louder than noise. She stared at the ceiling, thought about the grey hair, thought about the book, the woman in it who had spent 20 years building a life for everyone around her. And then one morning woke up and realized she had forgotten to include herself in it. Wonu had only read 30 pages, but she had felt the character with a precision that was almost uncomfortable. Like reading something that hadn't been written for the public but for you, specifically slid under the door. She thought about the few hours, how still the house had been, how she had felt for just that small pocket of time, like someone with a name that belonged to her and not to a role. She turned onto her side. Her husband was breathing steadily beside her, deep in a sleep she had never quite been able to access herself. She thought, I don't know when I stopped being a person to myself. The thought arrived plainly without drama, without tears, just a statement of fact from somewhere inside her. The kind of thing you can only think in the dark when everyone else is asleep and there is no one to perform okayness for. She didn't cry. She just stayed with it. This small, hard, honest thing. Until somewhere close to midnight, her eyes finally closed. In the morning, she woke before her husband, before the children, before the alarm. The house was grey with early light. She lay still for a moment, feeling the quiet. Then she got up and went to the kitchen and did something she had not done in a long time. She made tea for herself first, before the children's breakfast, before her husband's coffee, before the day laid its claim on her hands. She stood at the kitchen window with the mug warm between her palms and watched the street slowly come to life outside. A security man stretching, a dog crossing the road unhurried, the first generator switching on somewhere down the street. She drank her tea, slowly, to no one but herself. And it was such a small thing, such an ordinary, unremarkable thing, and she could not explain why it felt this morning like the first step in a direction she had not yet called a name.